Baby, they won't stop. Won't stop, 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 won't stop.
flesh. In the name of Almond the Supreme, the all-powerful, the one and only true Lord. In Almond we trust, in Almond we think, and in Almond we continue forward forever. Good evening. I am your humble host, the intellectual Lord Benjamin Manhattan, and this is Supreme American TV. And tonight we're going to be discussing a topic that I somewhat, excuse me, water. A topic that I previously discussed before, the question, are Black people really a part of the human race? I asked this question before, and I asked it under my old name, I think, and I asked it, just, I wanted to give more of a clear breakdown as to why I say that. And what made me want to really give this breakdown a much clearer and concise breakdown is something that I saw a couple of days ago. And this was in reference to when I typed in, because I was thinking about doing this cast format, so I wanted to redo it. I typed in the word human race or evolution of man, evolution of mankind, or evolution of man, right? Evolution of the human race. And I saw, the usual Darwin chart, but then I'm starting to see that fade away. And now they're starting to put so-called Black people, Black men in that chart from monkey to man. They starting to put so-called Black men in the evolution chart of the human race. Because a man by the name of Charles Darwin, who was a respected scientist in Caucasian circles, had this to say about the origin of your human race. He pointed out that man, human beings originated from monkeys, right? That they evolved from monkeys to man. And in his chart that he gave, he showed a primate, a monkey, that over time evolved into what looked to be a Caucasian man. Nowhere on that sign or that chart of Darwin's was a so-called Black man or any other man. But he said the human race. Now, they say, scientists will still say to this day that humans evolved from animals. And this is why they give the excuse of the rhesus monkey gene, or the Rh genetic inside of the humans, right? The rhesus monkey gene. So they traced monkey genetics to the human race. Now, that's really not a hard pill to swallow. Why I said it is because they show you and they tell you that mankind evolves from animals, and you can still see it to this day. You can still see how they came from monkeys to men. You could actually acknowledge that to be true. Why? Because they still have the same straight fur. Your Caucasians, your Asians, your East Indians, your Arabs and all those people, they all got the same kind of hair, which is really fur. Okay, that's fur. That's not hair. And they all still get fleas and ticks in that fur that they call hair. Do they not? Do they not still get fleas and ticks? I was in Walmart the other day, and I came across I was getting something from the health and beauty section. Where we got all the clipper cleanups and all this stuff in there. But anyway, so I see aggressive flea and tick medication, and it had a little Caucasian girl on it. I'm like, wow. And I knew they got fleas and ticks in their hair, and we don't get that in our hair. And that is usually fleas and ticks are usually attracted to animals, with that type of fur, that type of, they carry the same, genetic material. They're usually attracted to that. They're not attracted to our hair. So that's sign number one, that we're not the same as them. And I mean, you could literally look at us and see, I don't know how it is that people try to con us, because our eyes are not going to lie to us. If we look with our logical and rational vision, with our sight, Our eyes are not going to lie to us. We can clearly see we are totally different from everybody else. You can see they all got the same thing in common. Because if I ask you, well, what do they got in common? The first thing you're going to say is their hair. They all got the same type of hair. We don't. Why don't we got the same kind of hair? Now, people might say, oh, that's not a big deal. You know, people, hair is not a big deal, but it is a big deal. It is a very big deal because that's how you trace back people's genetics. Your hair follicles trace you to a certain genetic base. That's how they know the difference between so-called Caucasian hair. They know the difference between so-called Negroid hair. They know the difference between so-called Asian hair, and that tells you through the genetics. So how is hair not a big deal? How is hair not a big deal if you trace genetic material through hair? The forensic and crime scene groups and whatnot, the forensic and crime scene guys, they do it through hair and blood and things like that. So that's all genetic material. So what that tells you is that we're not the same. Okay, that tells you we're not the same genetically already through our hair. Our hair is a genetic marker. Not to mention the texture of our skin. And I'm telling you, look at the texture and the sheen of our skin, right? It's almost velvet-like, serpentine-like. If you look at our skin is almost like velvet and serpentine-like, and its smoothness. We don't got the same type of skin as them. If you look at them, if you look at the monkey, you shave down a monkey, you see that the monkey got pale skin, like the humans. They got the same kind of skin. They got the same kind of ears. You see, but I think when they got down to the Caucasians, a dog genetic was added in them, because I don't think it was just more than one. I think it was more than one animal genetic, more than the rhesus monkey. You can see in a lot of these humans a dog genetic. They have an animal genetic. They have a dog genetic in them as well as a monkey genetic in them. And how do you know that? Because if you notice, the humans age really fast. Notice that, especially the Caucasian ones. The humans age really fast. You notice that? You know why they age faster than us? Because they have an animal genetic in them. How do animals age? Animals age every 7 years, don't they? Now, I know everything I'm saying, people are going to go, oh, that sounds crazy and whatnot. But think about it for a minute. Don't say it sounds crazy because you haven't heard some Caucasian scientists go this far with it. But I'm going to take that step because I'm going to wait on them to tell me what to think and how to think. I can think on my own. You see, I'm not a mental slave. I can think on my own. We can think on our own. So let's lead the pack into the next generation, the regeneration of thought. So we see that by shaving down the monkey, you see the pale skin, you see the thin lips, you see the straight fur, you see the fact that monkeys and dogs and all them get fleas and ticks like the humans. And they showed you could even Google, and I think it was a point when they started to tell the truth that Black people are not part of the human race. The scientists say that we got the most complete genetic material here, our people. Why is it that we have the most complete genetic material here and everybody else don't? When your Caucasian racist Caucasian scientist was performing experiments on our people, like, for example, the Tuskegee experiment that took place in Alabama, Tuskegee, Alabama, where this Black nurse and I guess it was a U.S. doctor, a surgeon, whatever scientist funded research in which these doctors went into Tuskegee, Alabama, and they started injecting, and it was paying them a couple of dollars, injecting so-called Black men with syphilis. Okay, they was injecting them with syphilis. This went on for 40 years, and it was a so-called Black female that was helping them. How many of y'all heard about that? How many of you heard about that? I don't know if it was the United States, but I know it was probably United States funded, where they was injecting Black men from 1932 to 1972 with syphilis for 40 years. Injecting them with syphilis. And that's not the only thing they were doing with our people's genetic material, going back to Henrietta Lacks. They took her cells, and they made all kinds of Johns Hopkins made all kinds of cancer treating prevention medicines. I think it was medicines from her genetic material, or they were able, I should say, to treat cancer more effectively because she had extended genes or something along those lines. But what I'm saying is that her genetics were different from regular women's genetics, meaning Caucasian and every other woman's genetics. You see, same thing with these men, these so-called black men who was getting paid a couple of dollars to go and get injected with syphilis. They didn't know what they was getting injected with because they had the black female out there. You know, she was a nurse working with the beast to inject the men. You know, they didn't know no better, inject them with syphilis. See what happened when y'all trust in the beast? Well, anyway, in the beast they trust. Well, anyway, they shooting up these so-called black men, bronze men, American indigenous men with syphilis, and seeing the effects of what syphilis does over time. They watching the effects of what syphilis does over the 40 years, and they kept track of all these men. A lot of them died, but you know, of later illnesses and things like related to that, or died from it. You know, years out. Some of them survived all the way 40 years later. There was a movie on that. My point in bringing that up, and a lot of the experiments they did on our people, the reason why they did experiments on our people is because our people are more genetically complete. We are more genetically complete, and we're not what they are. You see, now they know the effects, the doctors, the medical industry, they knew the effects of what syphilis did to the human body. They understood what syphilis did to the human body. They didn't understand what it did to us. Because again, they were saying they wanted to see the long-lasting effects that syphilis had on the human body, but they already knew that. You had a lot of people, a lot of these Caucasians was dying of syphilis because back in the day, that was the AIDS of its time. A lot of them was passing syphilis around, sleeping with prostitutes and everything else, and they would just be living with syphilis and passing it around on each other, right? So when they seen Al Capone. Hell, Al Capone, the Chicago gangster in the 20s and the 30s, he died of syphilis. His brain rotted away and everything else. So they knew what syphilis did to human beings. So why did you have to test these black men? Why did they test a black man if we all the same? You follow what I'm saying? If we all human, we all the same, there's no difference. That's a lie they tell our people. You can physically see, visibly on the surface, see that there's a difference, a huge difference from us and them. There's a huge difference. You put us next to the Caucasian man, the Asian man, the Hindu man, the Arab man, you put us all next to them people. You put the so-called black man, the American indigenous man, and because I'll even say you could put the African there, because the African is not the same as us. But we're gonna go into that in a minute. You put us next to them, you can tell we not the same, man. We're not the same. You could visually see it with your eyes. You need scientists to tell you that. Now here, because scientists will say stupid stuff like, "Oh, this is all surface level things that you mentioning, and it doesn't equate to, us being different." Well, wait a minute. Hold on. Won't they say that? They'll say, "Oh, you going off of," they'll say you going off of surface level things like features and hair and stuff like that. But wait a minute. Doesn't this dictate what we are? In other words, what we are on the outside is dictated by what we are on the inside. Are y'all clear on what I'm saying there? In other words, I look like I look because of genetic material. From my mother, my father, and then back and forth. We look different because of genetic material. So obviously, if I look this way I look, and a white guy with straight hair or straight fur and pale skin look the way he looked, obviously we got different genetics now, don't we? Don't we? We're not the same. I mean, does that not make sense? Obviously, we're not the same. What's going on in my body is not the same as what's going on in his body, or we would look the same. That's why it sounds stupid when people say, "Oh, we all the same skin." No, we are not. Y'all, the Caucasians, which come from the Asians, that's why they got the name Caucasian, from the Caucasus Mountains. They are all the same people. They all have the same hair, what they call hair, human hair, which is fur. Their scientists all acknowledge that humans are an extension of the animal species. They all acknowledge that. And like I said, they can acknowledge it because their genetic markers match with animals. They done found the rhesus monkey. They're gonna find eventually they're gonna find the jackal, which they already know, or the dog, or the canine inside of the humans as well. Because the humans were part of an experiment. The human race was an experiment that was conducted by a advanced race that came before them. Y'all follow what I'm saying? The humans were created. The humans are the second race that on Earth. There's the first race that came on Earth before the humans that were not part of a creation. We are that first race. We are that Almond race. We came onto the Earth and created the human race. They are genetic mutations of us. Your human race is a genetic mutation of the first race that was here, which is called the Almond race, which we are parts of. Are y'all clear on that? We are a totally different race and species from the human race. You see, and how you know that? How you know that is because there's a such thing as racism. How is there such thing as racism if there's only one race? How does racism exist if there's only one race? Now, you don't see racism coming from the so-called white man and the Asian man. You don't really see racism coming from the so-called white man and the East Indian or the Hindu man. And check this out. The Hindu man be just as dark as me. But he has the straight hair. He has the fur like them. So the Caucasians recognize him as a fellow human. They recognize him. They know they'll look right at your hair because that's how they do. They'll look at your hair. They'll look at your skin and they'll see that you're not the same as them. And that's why there's a such thing as racism. How can there be one race how can there be a such thing as racism if there's only one race, the human race? How can there be a such thing? You didn't say there was separations within the human race. There's no, it's not. You said it's one race. We all the same because we all got red blood and all this other business and we could, interbreed with each other. So, and I challenge the whole idea that our blood is the same. No, it's not. Like I said, we are not the same. Just because we can intermingle, and the only reason we can intermingle is because they have a lot of our genetic material, because our genetic material was used in the creation of the human race. That's why they have what's called a mitochondria gene or mitochondria DNA. What is mitochondria DNA? A mitochondria DNA, from what their scientists say, is found in every so-called human being, right? They say mitochondria DNA is found in every so-called human being. Now, where does that mitochondria DNA originate from? The so-called black one. There you go. How do so-called white people and all the Asians get mitochondria DNA from the so-called black woman? Where did that come from? Where do rhesus monkey genes in them come from? Because if people think I'm making this up and, oh, brother, where you getting this from? I'm getting it from them. You asked me the question, I'm getting it from them. They tell you before. I told you, I just filled in the blanks. But they already told you. They told you that human beings are animals. They're nothing but a race of species of animal. And it makes sense that they are evolved animals because they have fur like animals. They have the same hair as their dogs, the same fur. They get the same fleas and ticks in their hair like their dogs. Some of them get into bestiality. And the so-called white woman said, I remember she said, a white woman did an interview. She said, well, we all animals, so it's not really wrong. Then there was that case of the cave woman who laid down with the dog. You see? And I'm not being disrespectful by calling her a cave woman, because white people acknowledge that they from the caves. They acknowledge that, the Flintstones. They acknowledge they from the caves. I'm not being racist. I'm talking about all humans. That's the Caucasians, the Asians, the East Indians, or such as the Hindu, the dark Hindus with the straight hair, which is really the black race of the human race. They're the real black race, the so-called Hindus. Why? Because black and white, even though it's not really racial designations or physical characteristics, black and white deals with opposing forces, opposites. So if you look at us and you look at the so-called white race, you could tell we're not even the same. So we can't be opposites. We can't be opposing forces because our genetic material is totally different. Now, if you put the Caucasian man, the so-called white man, next to the East Indian or the Hindu man, and then you'll see more of the same thing, just a darker version. You see, they could be opposites or opposing forces, but they're not. If you notice, they don't have no racism. The Caucasians don't have racism for Asians and East Indians, or so Hindus. They don't have no racism toward them. Why everybody got racism or vitriol toward us? Ask yourself that question. Why does everybody, if we all human, why is it that everybody has racism and hatred and vitriol toward everybody but us? I mean, how is it that, you know, I lightened up my, how is it that all the hatred and vitriol and enmity and hostility is for us? You got everybody hates so-called black people. How is that? How is it that everybody has hatred for so-called black people? Even so-called black people, because they was taught to hate themselves. Well, how is that? You see? We're not the same. We're not the same race or species as these people. Why do you think they treat us the way they do? The Asians don't like our people. The Caucasians don't like our people. The Hindus don't like our people, right? They don't like us. The Arabs don't like us because they know we're not the same. They know we're not the same. They know we're not the same species or race. They don't want to admit, scientists don't want to admit that there's a second race, another race on Earth. They don't want to admit that there's two races on Earth. They don't want to admit that. You see, because that opens up a whole nother can of worms to admit that there's two races on Earth. The first being the Almond race, the Omni race, the Almond race. The second being the human race, which was created by the Almond race. The Almond race came from higher dimensions, upper dimensions beyond this three-dimensional space, came into this three-dimensional space, started to build civilizations and leave children behind and mass produce in this three-dimensional space. And from there, when they knew they needed help, they wanted physical labor, they created mankind to be servants unto them. So that Lord, or that race of lords, when they said, let us make man in our image and after our likeness, was talking about an advanced race of people known as Almond, which we are connected to, which we are a part of. We are a part of that first people that came here. Why y'all think it is that how you know it to be true is because we are the indigenous people to the whole planet. Why is it that we are every place? We are found every place in Europe and Asia and Africa and America, definitely America. You already know that. We found every place on Earth as the first civilizations before anybody, before there was even any human fossils found. Why was our fossils the oldest found and the oldest civilizations here? Why? You know, the original English people were the Brighton people. Those are bronze people, man. Those are bronze people. The original English people are so-called black people, the Brightons. They don't talk about them, which they get the name Britain from the Brightons. You see, the Britons. You know, Britain. You see, it comes from them. That comes from them. English comes from them. You see. So we're the first people here on Earth. We're the oldest people on Earth. Scientists will not argue that. No scientist will argue that we're the oldest people here. But notice they can't find our origin. Why can't our origin be found on Earth? They can't trace our origin to monkeys. If they say that, that's a damn lie. That's a damn lie. If they say that we come from monkeys and apes, that's a lie. They can't say, because again, the so-called white man, they trace their origin back to animals. You know, when they trace their bloodline back, they go back into animals and mitochondrial DNA from the so-called black woman. This came out their mouth. How did that happen? If it was not an experiment, if it was not a creation, because the term create means to experiment. A creation is done by experiment, where you take existing genetic material and mesh it all together to create a hybrid. So the humans are hybrids of animals and mitochondrial DNA from black females, which makes a lot of sense because a lot of them carry themselves like females, and they idolize the so-called black woman, which because a lot of her genetic material was used in the creation of the human race, which is why they have mitochondria DNA. They have mitochondria DNA because obviously this was an experiment going on. When they're talking about, I'm gonna just use the word God because it wasn't God, it was the Lord. When the Lord made man in his image and after his likeness, this was talking about a race of people that were creating another race of people, an artificial race of people here on earth. Humans were created on earth. They were not created in no heaven, nowhere, no sky, no fourth dimension. Humans were created in the three-dimensional earth that we're in now. They were created here through animal genetic material and through earthbound black people's genetic material, the base people. I'm going into I'm going into the breakdown. Might well, I'm here. I kept y'all waiting. I might as well go into the breakdown. So, if we are the oldest people here on earth and they cannot find our origin nowhere, don't believe these scientists when they start talking this nonsense about we come from, they lying. They are lying. These Caucasian scientists are lying if they say that we American indigenous people, bronze people, come from monkeys and apes. They a damn lie. They lying. Where's our fur at? How come our hair look like this? How come our hair look like this? How come you ain't said you found no rhesus monkey genetics in our blood? They just making that up because, see, they don't want to admit that Darwin was only talking about the human race, which we're not included in. The humans are a creation of the Almond race, who created them to be servants. That's why it says in the Bible, these people were created to be servants unto the Lord. Man was created to be servant unto the Lord. So they were created by a superior or supreme race of people. They created them to serve them. And we are the descendants of those who created them. And we're going through hell under these people, our creations, our, our genetic mutations. You see, I don't realize Mama knew he said a little something about that with the Yakub story, even though it was a little bit off, you saying, but it was somewhat on point, that a race of people created another race of people. We are that first race of people that created an artificial race of people. That's why if you look at your humans, they're not natural beings. The humans are not natural beings. They are artificial beings. Anything that has to be created is artificial. We were not created. We were always here on earth, in the extended earth of the fourth dimension, the eighth dimensions, and the multidimensional earth. We were always here. We were always alive. We didn't start dying until we came into the third dimension. That's when we started living and dying. When we were in the fourth dimension, there was no death. The fourth dimension, the eighth dimension, the 12th dimension. Again, these all are based in squares. That's why I say 4, 8, 12. And then that last outdoor is 13 to outer dimensions. But it's all based in squares, as in building blocks, because everything is based in the square. We in a triangular state, and we're headed toward the square. We're headed toward the fourth dimension. And in the fourth dimensional shift that takes place, this knowledge that I'm sharing with you will be common knowledge. And it's already becoming common knowledge, because when I taught this years ago, when I said this, I started teaching that we are not a part of the human race. I think well over 10 years ago. And that we are actually a race called Almond, and that is that race of lords that they talking about. When they talk about the Lord and amen in the Bible, they're talking about people. The Lord, amen, amen, they talking about people. In ancient Egypt, ancient Kemet, Almond didn't come from ancient Egypt, because a lot of people will say, oh, Almond was some god created in ancient Egypt. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Almond is indigenous to America. You know how you know that? And how you know the founders of the United States government know that? Because they make their laws out of amendments. Their laws come from amendments. Look at the word almond in their laws. To do what? To denote that there was a people that were here before them that built civilizations that were based in law and order. That was our people. That was our people, the Olmecs, the Aztec, the Inca, the Mayan. We had real laws and real governments that went for thousands of years. The Mayans went for hundreds to 1,000 years. We had whole societies that went for way more than 200 and 300 years. This society ain't even seen 300 years yet. But we had societies that went for thousands of years. You see, because they were based in real law and real order and real judgment and punishment. That's why we had that. We understood law and order. And even to a level, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to just say something to you now. Even when we in our unnatural state, because we live in a three-dimensional mind state, an incomplete mind state, we don't have that fourth dimensional mind, which puts us in alignment to who we are. Again, that's why the Masons talk about standing on the square, because the square represents the mind, which is level, the body, which is level, which is balanced, which is even, right, which is upright, because when you are on equal footing, when you are on balance and base footing, you walk upright. When there is a like for example, when you sit in a chair, you got four legs to a chair. You remove one of those legs, you're going to fall down, you're going to lose balance. So it's the same thing with our people in this three-dimensional realm. We are imbalance, we are off balance. That's why we do the wrong things. We don't know right from wrong no more. We follow behind these humans, you see, in they degenerate ways. We want to act like them. We want to mix our seed with them, all kind of stuff. We bugged out. We worship them. Here it is. We got beautiful bronze, copper colored skin, woolly, beautiful hair, and we worshiping them. How? I'm gonna be real. We the best looking people on earth, man. Why? Because we are well done people. We are complete people. We are well done, sun drenched people, solar projected people who have a sheen to us, an illumination to us, a power to us that's different from everybody else. Why would we look up to them? Why would we worship them? Why are black people sitting in the damn church worshiping a white Jesus? That's crazy to me. That's crazy. That's brainwashing 101. That's cult teaching 101. You see, we are totally different energy than them. We are soul beings. We are soul beings, not spiritual beings. We have souls. They don't have soul. Humans got spirits. We got soul. We move by the soul. We're not spiritual beings. We don't have spirits. They got spirits. We got soul. The soul is based in what? Solar projection, solar power, because we were solar projections from the fourth dimension into this three-dimensional space. Okay? So we are solar projections. That's why we look like we look. You could tell we were baked by the sun. Look at our skin. Look at our hair. We got this beautiful bronze, dark, rich skin, which the so-called white man called black, as a way to insult us because they hating on us. They jealous because we got bronze, copper colored skin. Don't sit up here and try to change it now. When they came into America, they called us copper colored people. They didn't call us black people. When they said the Americans are the copper colored people, my skin is copper colored. When they said they was talking about the copper colored people, they were talking about us. They was giving credit to us. Even calling us colored people was a compliment more than black. Colored was better than black, because color denotes what? Vibrant illumination, vibrant colors. That's what it denotes. Brightness, intelligence. Then they thought about it, then they started thinking about this, like, hey, we calling these niggas bright colored, and we just plain old white. We calling these Negroes colored, and we're just plain old white people. We can't have that. Let's make them Negroes. Let's make them black people. And that's what happened. And then look at all the foul things they attach to black. It's foul, sullen, dirty, you lower, lesser than white. Again, they made you the opposing evil force to their whiteness. The same people that created white, these supremacists, Caucasian supremacists, are the same people that created black as a way to demean us, as a way to erase us, as a way to hide who the real Americans are. But they left the copper-colored thing there, the 1828 Merriam-Webster dictionary definition of American. Look up 1828 Merriam-Webster dictionary definition of American. 1828. Look it up and type in definition of American 1828. Read what it says. Read what it says, because they don't hide the truth. They just don't tell you about it. And they know you ain't gonna go looking for the truth. But again, whether they tell us the truth or not, we could clearly see we're not the same. We can clearly see how they treat our people, that we're not the same. Let me see something. So you think black going all the hell because of karmic judgment for creating humans? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Alonzo. Yes. Yes. We catching hell for creating them because they are an abomination. The humans were not supposed to be created. The humans were created on the third dimension, but those who are still above in the fourth dimension are ascendants. They didn't want the creation of the human race. That's why several points in their lives, they were trying to destroy the human race. You know, remember all them plagues that was coming? They kept talking about all these plagues that came to Europe and all over, and it was killing off these humans. That was coming from our people in the fourth dimension to kill off the humans, because the humans were considered an abomination because they took genetics from an animal and took their genetics and created mankind. That's why they're called mankind. They're not men, they're mankind. They're kind of like man. That's like artificial man. Mankind is another way of saying artificial man. Remember the astronaut? What's that astronaut's name? Neil Armstrong. What did Neil Armstrong say? How many of y'all remember Neil Armstrong? He let it slip out that there's two types of men on Earth. There's the man and then there's mankind. Neil Armstrong, an astronaut, said when he came back supposedly from the moon, he said, this is one small step for man, one giant step for mankind. Now, why did he say that? Because if it's the same, then that's the same thing. One small step for man, a giant step for mankind. So they were acknowledging that there were two types of men on Earth. He let it slip out. If we all the same, why he didn't just say this is one big step for mankind or whatever? Why did he make the distinction? Why is it that we are the most hated people on Earth? Wherever you go, there's racism against our people. You know why? Because we're a different race. We're a different species, and they know it. Remember the Ku Klux Klan guy said, and let me tell you something, your racist Caucasians, if they watching, they know everything I'm saying is the truth. They might not like it, but they know it's the truth. They knew Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, wasn't, even though he was like with the Yaqub story and he got from Fard, you know, it was kind of like, you know, it didn't and some of it made sense, but it didn't, because we got to get into, when people say things to us, we got to get into the logic in it. What is the foundational logic in what's being told to us? We got to get into foundational logic. We got to stop going and looking for the so-called white man to tell us the truth. We got to stop going and looking, because he's not going to really tell you the whole truth, but you got to pay attention, because sometimes he will. Sometimes he will tell you the truth, but you got to know when to catch it, because he's not going to openly just say. Some of them will just out and out tell you the truth. And some of them who are watching, they know what I'm saying is the truth, that we are a totally different species from them. They are the product of animals, animal species, animal genetics, and the earthbound so-called black people who were disconnected from the fourth dimension. They are a product of them. That's why they have mitochondrial DNA from the woman, the so-called black woman. Let's just keep it real. Now, they said it themselves. So if people think I'm crazy, oh, where you getting this from? They said that all humans got mitochondrial DNA, which comes from a black woman named Lucy, or some so-called monkey woman, black monkey woman in damn Africa somewhere. They say some of the weirdest stuff, but what you gotta read between the lines, because when it come to these humans, they half the time they don't even know their own origin. So they trying to piece it together as to why they got rhesus monkey blood in their genetic, why they got a mitochondrial DNA from a black woman in their genetic. They trying to figure all that out. And I'm telling you the answer. They are an experiment. That a group of people who look like us, known as the Almond race, the first people that projected here from the fourth dimension into the third dimension, took the earthbound black people's genetic material and mixed it with the animals that were evolving onto the planet. The rhesus monkey, the jackal, which is the dog, the hound, and you can see it in them today. Look at a lot of the birth defects that was coming from out of places like India, what they call India today, Hindustan. You seen these humans, the Hindus being born with hind legs like animals, tails, all kind of stuff. So where do those genetics come from? Where did those genetics come from? Those are animal genetics. That happens when there's an experiment or experiments that were taking place and people were splicing genes. The creation of man is a science experiment. Mankind's creation was a science experiment from a supreme race of being known as Almond. That's where mankind comes from. That is the Lord that or the creator, or what they call God, that created them, because they acknowledge that they were created by something. And I'm gonna show you something else, because I'm using all of their talking points. I'm not making up nothing. I'm connecting the dots and using their talking points. Now, when they say that, they show this picture, a lot of your conspiracy theories, they got this picture. See if I can find this picture. When they try to explain the creation of man, what they show you is a so-called Caucasian man. They show you an extraterrestrial that look like a reptilian with the big eyes. Because, when they show you those extraterrestrials with the big heads and the big eyes, those are really reptiles that they just made pale or took the green off. Those look like reptiles. But anyway, they show you an extraterrestrial and a monkey and the genetics mixing, and that is the creation. In other words, they're saying they're the product of, and these are some of your conspiracy people or whatever they call us, people that's that deal with the out paranormal. They be talking about Egypt and the spaceships and whatnot, but they have this image where they show you that mankind is the creation of what they say is extraterrestrials and monkey genetics. That's how they say mankind was created. He's part extraterrestrial, part monkey genetics. Now, just get rid of the whole big-eyed, big head, whatever creature. Who would be because they don't look like that. They don't look like that. The only thing they got right was the monkey part. Because they do got the thin lips like the monkeys. They do got the pale skin like the monkeys when you shave them down. And some of them still got all that fur on them sometimes. That's why they got to go get electrolysis, because they got all that fur on them. Then they get fleas in they fur, right? So they're the only ones that got monkey genetics. The thin lips, the pale skin, the straight hair. We don't got that. We got full lips. Where's a monkey with full lips at? Where's a monkey with this type of nose at? Where's a monkey with this type of hair or skin at? Now, if they found that, I'd be like, okay, you're right. But they ain't never found that. They got to try and create that image in your head that we all come from monkeys. Get out of here, man. They are an experiment that took place. Your human race is a scientific experiment from a race of advanced beings, which we all agree on. They say extraterrestrials. However, who they really talking about is us. And we don't know that because we cut off from the knowledge of who we are. We don't know that we created them in our image and after our likeness, that we are part of that race of beings, that first race of beings known as Almond, who created the human race. Now, let me say this. Well, it shouldn't be that far-fetched, because you got scientists today that's doing that. You got scientists that's doing genetic splicing. You got scientists that are giving animal hearts to humans and all this other stuff. So they showing you that you could switch out certain body parts of animals with humans. They showing you they gave humans what they give humans, what kind of hearts they gave them, monkey hearts or some stuff. I forget what it was. They gave humans animal parts. Now, sometimes they died, sometimes they was able to go with it. You see, right? What was that Darwin told them about themselves? Exactly. Darwin told them. So everything I'm saying is based off of what, not everything, because again, we piecing it all together. And you could clearly see who the first people are on Earth. So who would be the closest to this advanced race of beings if we're the first people on Earth? Who would be the closest? Who would be the closest? If we are that advanced race of beings, who would be the closest? Okay. Who would be the closest? We the oldest living beings on Earth. Our fossils is found. No, the scientists are never going to argue that. We got the most dominant genetics on Earth. We have the most dominant genetics. They got recessive genetics. If we the same, how come we got dominant genetics and they got recessive genetics? If we the same, we got the most dominant genetics than anybody here. So we obviously not the same. We not. And again, if there's a such thing, if we all the same, why is there such thing as racism? They're showing you, and then when they said, remember that time they said, "Oh, we 3/5 of human, we not all the way human." We know parts of the human race. How about that? We are our own separate race and species known as Almond. We are our own race. We are our own species. And again, nobody has to accept what I'm saying. If you want to sit up here and believe you come from monkeys and all this nonsense, then you believe it. If you want to believe that we all the same, we all human, then believe that. You can believe that, but it's only going to be a belief. Your beliefs don't matter. Your beliefs don't matter. What matters is logical and rational thought, which is what we can pick up with our senses. We can clearly see we don't look the same. You can clearly see we don't have the same genetic material because if we was the same, we would. You can clearly see that we move on a totally different energy than them. You see, because we're different, and there's nothing wrong with that. See, the problem is they don't like the fact that somebody looking like me would say this. Meaning I got dark skin, I'm a bronze man. I'm not supposed to look like this and say this. I'm supposed to wait till a Caucasian scientist come out and go, which they will do in another maybe 5 to 10 years or probably less. They're going to come out and say exactly what I'm saying. That black people are not really human. They're a whole nother species. They won't say that we are an advanced species, which makes sense because we faster than them. You know, we move better than them. We got more rhythm than them. Again, and again, no disrespect to nobody, but we better athletes than them. You see, because again, we are those fourth dimensional people. We are those solar charged people. So that gives us energy like that. We move off of a whole different energy. We move off a whole different energy. You see, and by me coming out here and doing this and saying this, I realize that it'll sound crazy to some because they got to wait for a European with a DR in front of his name and a PhD in the back to acknowledge what I'm saying, but I don't have to. If you want to, I'm not a slave. I'm not a mental slave. I started off telling you, I'm a thinking man. I don't believe anything. I don't believe anything. I base everything I do, I base on logical and rational thought. These are logical and rational thoughts that I would apply to a scientist. I would apply to a biochemist, whatever. I would, because I don't accept nothing they just tell me. Because I'm not a believer. A lot of you people that claim you intelligent, claim you are scholars and well-read, all that really means is you believe the stuff the white man say. That's all that really means. All that means is you believe the lies of the so-called white man. They lie all the time. And I'm not saying that black people lie too, but see, here's the difference. To know the difference between the truth and a lie will never make sense. Truth makes sense. Like everything I said to y'all tonight, tell me anything I said that didn't sound rational and logical. Tell me anything I said tonight that didn't make sense. I'll wait. I'm looking at your comments. Has anything I said tonight not made sense? I'll wait. And I'll answer it logically. Has anything I've said, because all this comes through me. These are all assertions from on high, from that fourth dimensional state. So my mind, I'm a fourth dimensional thinker. I'm not a believer. I'm not a third dimensional believer. I'm a fourth dimensional thinker. Okay. I want you to know, I'm gonna say that I'm a fourth dimensional thinker. I'm not a three-dimensional believer like these black people out here. You see, I'm a little confused about these experiments that created humans. Okay, tell me what you confused by, Muhammad Ali. Tell me what you confused by. I'll work to unconfuse you. I can break it down. Tell me what you don't understand. I'm waiting for your question because we could do this. What don't you understand? I'm waiting for your question. Just technically, be specific. Be specific. What don't you understand? The truth and nothing but the truth being spoken. Okay, but tell me what it is that you don't understand. How did it work? How do scientists, they take genetic material? They take genetic material, they take genetic materials and mix them together. They do genetic cocktails. Like today, they'll do genetic cocktails. Listen, scientists don't create it. I'm gonna give you an example of this. Whenever you crossbreed something, scientists do this all the time, whether it be animals, whether it be other vegetables and food, they crossbreed and you get hybrids of the crossing. You get hybrids of that which is crossed. So all they did was take our genetics and mix it with animal genetics. Again, a crossbreeding, making a genetic cocktail. And from there, you can produce life. They produced artificial life through the human race. So again, they're just a genetic cocktail of living organisms, us and the animal genetic. Okay, yeah, Frankie, like a Frankenstein experiment, man. Yeah, the people back then, our people was doing this. You think the white man was the first one to be a scientist? Obviously, the people that created them were more advanced mentally than everybody. If they created them, because look. Okay, I'm look at the genetic structure of people. It's a very complex and genetic structure that's going on with us. You could tell that the constructors of mankind, you know, they had to have some type of same construction to go off of. So they took from their genetic material and created an artificial race. They used animal genetics because the animals were more obedient to them. The monkeys that were around at that time, the jackals, they were obedient to them. Our people knew how to utilize animals to do stuff. We were the first ones to handle jackals and dogs and stuff like that. And they were we had a very strong grip on the animals. So they basically understood our dominion over them. So because they were submissive, the animals were submissive to us. We used their genetic material in the creation of the human race, because the thought was that they would be submissive. The humans would be submissive to us if we use lesser genetic material, meaning the animals. Y'all clear on that? Let me see. Animals don't have conscious. We splice our genetics. Okay. You splice our genetics with it, then it's human. That's why the low vibration move with rhythm, move without rhythm. Yeah, that's right. If you notice, like I said, why do humans smell like animals? Why do humans, y'all say that with the humans, with the Caucasians, and they come out, why do they smell like animals? Why do they smell like wet dogs? Obviously, there's an animal genetic. You know a dog when you smell one. And again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody. Not at all. I'm just asking the question, why is their hair fur? Somebody took animal genetics and mixed them and made them into the human race. I mean, is that hard to understand? Yeah, because they got canine genetics. They're gonna eventually tell you that. They admitted to the rhesus monkey genetic, which they have as well, but they're gonna eventually tell you about the canine genetic, which is why they have this love for dogs, because they have the dog genetic. In fact, the name of their god is dog spelled backwards. God spelled backwards is dog. Is that a coincidence? Why is God spelled backward dog? Why do they show you, their own science to show you that they come from animals? I mean, the evidence is there. For anybody to say, oh, this sounds crazy, something wrong with you. You see? Let me see, I'm reading this. And I'm going to show y'all something. How many of y'all got notifications for this cast tonight? How many of y'all got notifications? Because I didn't get one, because I said I'm on another channel and they didn't put no notifications out for this. How many of y'all got notifications? Let me see in the comment section how many of y'all got notifications. Let me see how many of y'all got notifications. I'm the only one that put this together. See? You didn't. I didn't. I did. See? They see they got a block on it. They know. They already know. You got one. Okay. Okay. Yeah, they play with it. Certain people didn't get one. I didn't, Yeah, they play games with it because they see, let me tell you something. They see the content in which I'm speaking on, and I'm being, and if I wasn't telling the truth, why they blocking it? Why they blocking it if I'm lying? You see, if you talking some foolishness or some stupidity or some nonsense, they don't care. They'll let it be shared all over. Why when I come on, it's blocked? Why y'all ain't getting your notifications? You see? But my point is that their genetic marker, human genetic markers, trace back to animals. Our genetic marker doesn't connect to anything here. Our genetic marker does not connect. They can't find, they don't know how old so-called black people are. They don't know. The scientists do not know how old we are, because They only know how old they are because of the animal genetic. They go back to where, you know, they can't find their bones and fossils no more, and then they start knowing the animal genetic. They already know what their creation period in time is. They know a rough guesstimate. They don't know ours because we don't have one. We don't have a creation point. We don't have an origin on Earth. I told you before, we come from the upper dimensional spaces of Earth, what the so-called white man calls heaven. We come from the upper dimensional spaces of Earth because there are multi-dimensional spaces upward in the Earth, which is what your Caucasians are trying to go into the space for. Ask yourself a question. What does it mean to go into space? What does it mean to go into space? I want you to think about this for a minute, because I say that our people, we come from a fourth dimensional space that's above this three-dimensional realm, this the three-dimensional space we in. We come from that, and we got upper dimensions that we are in. Eighth dimension, there's more extended space. So my question is, how is it that they say that, you know, they're going into space? What does it mean to go into space? How many of y'all ever thought about that when they say we go into space? Deep space. What is deep space? What is deep space? Because if somebody say I'm going into space, that just means you're going into an open space. But then, or you going up in space, but then why are they just going up in space? Isn't there supposed to be a destination as to where you're going or where you're trying to go? Because they just said they sent Gail King and some cave woman, they went up in space. I don't know what the hell that means. It's almost like they're trying to find something, because you don't go someplace with no destination in mind unless you're looking for something. Right or wrong? I want my thinkers here with me, because see, the believers are sitting here saying, oh, this guy sounds crazy. What are you talking about? No, see, the thinkers are always going to sound crazy to the believers, because the believers can't think. They're used to just basically believing whatever the white man say. Whatever white man with a Dion for his name, the PhD, they believe whatever he say. Right? So what does it mean to go up into space? That means you're going or looking to go into a space. That's what that means. They're looking to enter someplace. What is that space? They know that there's a fourth dimension. They know now, they start to admit. One time they said it wasn't a fourth dimension. Now they starting to say it is one. Look it up. They know the fourth dimension exists. And they know we in the third dimension, but they want to try to get to the fourth dimension. But the human race is barred from the the human race is barred from the fourth dimension, because they were created in the third dimension. They cannot ascend into the fourth dimension. They can't ascend into the fourth dimension. That's an extended space, or what they say, evolving into a higher state. That's what we are here to do as a people. So, all right. We're an hour and 9 minutes in. I'm about to wrap this up. But, you know, we're not part of the human race. We are actually the almond race. I'm the first one to teach that. I don't mind standing on that and people calling me crazy. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. Truth is truth. And the ones who bold enough to stand up and tell the truth, and when people sit up here telling we all the same, we this, that, the third. No, we not. No, we not. And that's not an issue that we not the same. You can clearly see we not the same. We two totally different species on Earth. And we're not really supposed to be together like that. We can respect each other. And whenever we ain't supposed to be with them, and they ain't supposed to be with us. We supposed to, like I said, we are the almond race that projected here onto the Earth. And they are the human race who was created on Earth. You see, as above, so below. But we'll pick it up another time. So could y'all do me a favor, please? Y'all know we got the American Indigenous Street and Music Festival coming up. Y'all already know that. I was talking about it last night. I'm gonna keep banging the drum until y'all we get this 15 grand up. We almost at 10. We about to be at 10,000. We need another 5,000, 5,600. Can y'all please donate? Give what you can, all you can stand, so we can make our goal of 5,000, another 15,000. We almost got 10. So we're doing our American Indigenous Street and Music Festival. The dates are locked in. It's going to be in Atlanta, June 21st and June 22nd, Saturday and Sunday at the Rodney Cook Senior Park. Right? We're going to be acknowledging who we are as American Indigenous people. Right? Just again, we ain't trying to start no problem. We just celebrating us. Again, we're here to celebrate our American Indigenous ancestry and heritage, because we are the only real Americans here. by nationality. And again, that's no disrespect to the white Americans or anybody else who call themselves American, but they all know they immigrants. They all know they immigrants. That's why they celebrate St. Patrick's Day, San Gennaro Festival. They're celebrating their culture and heritage of where they came from, which makes them Native Americans, meaning people who came from elsewhere. A Native American is a person who comes from elsewhere and starts having children in America, and those children become native to the land. That means, in other words, a native is really an immigrant. Natives are immigrants. They're not indigenous. Natives are immigrants. Okay, so they celebrate their immigrant background and culture and heritage. We might as well, as American indigenous people, the Olmecs, the Aztec, the Inca, the Mayan, the American Indians, and so on and so forth, we might as well celebrate our American culture, our American heritage, as the only real Americans here. Not from Africa, not from no Asia, but solely from here. We Americans, South American, from South America to Central America to North America. We are the only real indigenous people of this land. And all the connecting areas, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, all that, Cuba, we the indigenous people of all these lands in the Americas, Canada, all of that. And that's all I got. So please share. I already know they probably, it's all right, man. It's all good. Share. Subscribe to this. Please hit the American Indigenous Street Music Festival link so we can make this happen. Again, we had to pay vendors and pay all the things that come with porta toilets, police, and all this stuff that come with it. To have our American, because let's have something for us to celebrate our American culture. It's the first time we're doing something like that, and it's beautiful that we're doing this in Atlanta. We're doing it in the ATL. You see, let's revitalize our souls as a people and move forward as a people, because it's all about being a better people. We're not trying to harm nobody. We ain't against nobody. Again, I don't hate white people. I don't hate Asian. I don't hate nobody. I don't want people to associate me with hate, because I'm not. It's not being hateful. I'm just telling the truth for the truth's sake. And I talked about what they said, not me. But I always want to say I'm not racist against anybody. I'm just a realist. I speak reality. If we really did come from monkeys, I'd be like, hey, we came from monkeys. If we really did come from Africa, I bet we come from Africa, but we didn't. We didn't. There's too much proof to show that now. Nobody gonna live a lie to make other people feel good. So support the American Indigenous Street Music Festival. Go down below and hit the link. Please share the link inside the chat. I'm about to close this out. If you want to join the American community, join the American community ROA worldwide. Join the Republic of America worldwide. This for our indigenous people, our bronze indigenous people, for our people. Right? I say, so become a registered American. That word American comes from our people, the indigenous people. It didn't come from no Amerigo Vespucci. Now it didn't come from no white man. That's from our people. That's from our Mesoamerican people. The word America come from. So join the Republic of America and become a registered American. Or you can hit, and you can also support this message, because I don't ask for no cash apps and nothing like that. You can go and join my Mentellect Patreon, and you can hear all the casts I do every night, because I'm gonna do one tonight. You can hear all my casts. They go there. And, you can hear the message, things I can't say on YouTube, things like that, because people sensitive. Let me tell you something. I get it. Black people, I get it. White people, I get it. Everybody. I get it. Everybody. I say, I don't consider, I'm not no black supremacist. I'm not on black people's side. I'm not on white people's side. I'm on bright people's side. I'm on the intelligent ones of my people's side. That's who I'm on. Again. And like I said, I respect everybody until you disrespect me. I give everybody respect. I don't care what race you are, human, almond. I give everybody respect until you disrespect me. And that's all I live by. And that's it. So, and check out Sister Enra Vanzetta. Please check out Sister Enra Vanzetta's American Indigenous channel. The American Indigenous channel by Sister Enra Vanzetta, Mentangelan. Check out her channel, Sister Enra Vanzetta Mentangelan's channel. So thank you very much. Those of you I'm going to be back sometime later on in the week. I'm closing out with Shaka. Good night. No. Let me see. I'll close with this. Good night.
With the realness. of life. Some people need to watch what they say. Sleeping, it's deep, man. So peep it closely when I'm speaking. Weaklings, it's obvious you can't live up to your petty, pointless words, yet and still you love to run off your jibs. Now there come a time for judgment, punishment. What if we take away your ornaments and strip you down to the raw deal? Then I'll reveal the evidence, cause you don't really represent. Not enough real hip-hop. A sense of purpose is filling me to display credibility and show responsibility. Willingly, I take on any Johnny Dangerous, pull his file for he knows he cannot hang with this. The illest king, I smack the jokers. No hocus pocus, a real MC when I kick vocals.
should stay.